Good afternoon, my name is Tumi Tladi and welcome to my YouTube channel. If this video is the first video of mine that you are currently watching, I'm gonna ask you and urge you to watch my other previous videos, particularly a video titled Introduction to Identical Docs, where you get to see a pretty face of mine but laying out a detailed expectation for this YouTube channel. And then with that being said, let's get down to business, shall we? Today it's Tuesday, the 24th of August 2021. Time is 70 minutes after 12 p.m. and currently I'm on Identical Docs system, and then I'm on call underscore web API branch. Please watch my other previous series. I did a Solution Explorer series, and then I did a Vision Control series where we talked about a lot of stuff. You will find this helpful, trust me. So now to the business of today. Let me just recap. I'll just show you that I'm still busy. Today I was working on version 3 system. We'll talk about that, or we did talk about the version, or should I say contracts. Please watch this video where we talk about V1, V2, V3. So I'm currently on V3, but working on .NET Core version of my web API. So now, according to this guy, we covered everything about the overview. So today we're going to get down to the actual business, which is these are the features. This is what makes my web API to work. But remember, web API is being utilized by the mobile application, which is my Xamarin application, this shared project for both platform specific project, which is Android, also platform specific project, which is iOS. Not only that, it's being utilized by WPF. Okay, and just to recap, this project is 2-in-1 MVC and web API. It's .NET framework, and this one is .NET Core version of this web API. Okay, so we're not gonna do a Google study, but I'm gonna show practically how all the pieces work together. Okay, and please stay tuned for my next major series. It's gonna be massive on Xamarin, where I get to show you live. I want to connect this your phone app, within Windows 10 to my Android device, but it seems like it's having some issues. Also, I still want to try out Visa, but I'm gonna use my laptop to show to demo live the app when we get to that series on Xamarin. So today we're gonna do version updates. It's the first thing that happens on my Xamarin mobile application running on Android. So we're gonna talk about this feature. Why is it called version update? So a little bit of a story, what ignited the creativity. I was on YouTube using my iPad, and then I just fired up YouTube app, and then it filled the entire page with this update to say, listen, there's a new version of YouTube, we recommend, we urge you to download blah 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 blah, and then they convinced me why I should. So for the mere fact that it popped up, and then that was the first time when I saw it popping up. I'm sure even right now if I go to YouTube, it might pop up. Let's just, for argument's sake, let's see if I can go to youtube.com, because I'm already authenticated. So it just popped up, it filled the entire screen, and then the only thing that I was allowed to do was to dismiss it. So there was this close button, just here, and then I just dismissed that. And then I was like, what if instead of, how am I going to communicate that I have a new app, or I have a new version of my app? You see right now it's not popping up, that thing. It's fine, but we're not going to focus on this. We're going to focus on my actual, because it's not doing what I was looking for. We're going to focus on this version of my website. This is .NET framework. Okay, because I need to show that as administrator I control this, but how is these pieces come together before I show the code. So let me scroll down to quick links where you find app on Google Play Store, and then I'm gonna do this, open a new tab. Okay, I'm about to be authenticated in a second. So this is my actual app on Google Play Store, right? And I want to show the current version number, and then because I want to do this thing live. So before my app gets to this page where you now it's a startup page where you now choose, are you a business or store owner, or you are a customer or visitor, right? Before it gets here, what it does, it triggers this version update feature, the one I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the .NET framework. So .NET version update feature. How does it start? I know I'm moving all over the place, so let's get to the version number of this app. So the current version number is this. Please mark this, please note this. The current version is 1.0.12, and then we know this. While it's doing this, let's open Xamarin, especially for Android, and then I want to open let's see. I can't open the Android manifest file. There's a reason why, because it's something that's very sensitive. I can't open, but there's another way of showing the current version number of this app. So let me do right click, because this is me preparing for the major series, which is Xamarin, to show you how the pieces come together. So in the meantime, I'm going to go and fire properties. We'll come back to it. Now, so we know the version number is 1.0.12. So now let me authenticate myself as the administrator. I'm hoping that my account is still working because it's been a while. You know what I mean? So I'm the only one who can tamper with these versions. Yes, a version update, right? As administrator, you see, I'm authenticated as admin. So one of the things is that I'm gonna go to the tasks, and then this is where now the version update comes in. Now this is MVC. Don't get this twisted. This is MVC. But remember, this is to anyone. There's also a small component which is web API, but this part is MVC. So if I go to version updates and show you that I started with when I invented this feature last year in December, I started with the version 1.0.10, and then I added this, you can see, on the 15th of December. So this is something, this is production data. I cannot tamper with this data. And I moved it from version 1.0.10 to 11. Now currently is 12, and I'll explain this step by step. I'm just waiting to, okay, you see now the version is 1.0.12 from Android manifest file. I'm just showing this version instead of that one because it contains something very sensitive. So this is where you get to know. So now you know it's a version 1.0.12. We are done. Okay, so this is what I wanted to do. That listen, it will say, so I have the version, the release notes, and I have when was it created on. So what do we need? What's the first thing that the web API needs? It needs the entity model, of which it comes from down. Please watch my other previous video where I explain the purpose of this project. Okay, so I'm gonna go to tables. We need to go to, you see folder, it's being properly arranged inside the folder called startups. So this is where you find the entity model itself, which is version updates. This is what makes up what's in a database, the actual table, this guy. Okay, so let me open this guy just to show what is inside the database out of this table. So the table name, it's called version updates. Okay, so let's give this guy a couple of seconds to load up everything that we need, because Visual Studio has been running from I believe 8 a.m. running in idle mode. Well, not necessarily in idle mode, I've been doing some work prior to that, but okay, come on Visual Studio, come on. So I invented this thing. What you're about to see, this is now the real live code, like the main thing. I'm gonna show you how this is now connected to web API. So we have this guy, right? So we have 4 properties. The very first one is it's a primary key, which is a version update ID, right? And then we have a string, which is the version number. We'll talk about this, please pay attention. And then the release note, which is of type string. And then when was this guy created? It's very important. And then notice the data type. The version update ID, it's type GOIT. The rest are the string. And then the last one, which is the date time. So we need this, okay? Now, if I go back to the administrator now can see three things. I don't care about the ID right now because it's behind the scenes, right? So he can see the version. We'll talk about why you see underscore. I'll explain that, why we see underscore. Because the Android, which is the Xamarin project, there's a need for this guy when it comes to web API. It doesn't allow, or it doesn't like dots. We'll talk about that. So then this is the release note, the actual release note that gets to be, I'll show that. And then when was it created? So the new version was updated on the 13th of January 2021, right? A couple of months ago, earlier this year. So this is when me pushing using CI and CD from App Center, using App Center to push to Google Play. So that's how I do it, CI and CD, right? So I push this guy. Obviously now Google has to now review the request to say, listen, I have a new version of this app. So they have to review it. So then a day later, that's what I did after I saw it was live on Google Play Store. Then a day later, I went to add this record, and I'll show how I do it. And on Thursday the 14th, I added this, and you see early in the morning. And then I wrote this release note. All the icons on the About page are now clickable for easy navigation. This includes social media, sending emails, and placing calls from the page. This is actually what I did on the mobile application. I'll show this live when I do Xamarin series. And then this is the version number that we can see here, right? But I want to read what's new. Do you see this? All the icons on blah, 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 blah. So after I wrote what's new, it's exactly what I'm expecting to be on the release notes. I hope this makes sense, right? Cool. Now let me explain why this is very important. There's underscore. So if I add this one, it's going to be temporary because I have to delete it. So I'm going to add a new version. It's going to be v underscore 1 underscore 0 underscore. Let me just say I'm adding version 2. So instead of this, okay, because now I have to add this in a database, but when I pull it, I'm going to substitute this. I'm going to use string replace. I'm going to replace underscore with a dot, because when it comes to, okay, let me show with .NET Core API. This is .NET Core Web API, right? This is the actual domain. It's out there in the cloud. It's hosted. So this is it. So let me just do DEMO. Let me just say DEMO API, and then version 1. So if I pull this, it doesn't like, let's say version. I believe it's equals to, it doesn't like v 2.0.0. it doesn't like this. It doesn't like this. So I want it to be moved down like this. Okay, and then the mobile application will just replace these guys with dots. Okay, so now you understand. So in fact, we almost made a mistake. So we only need it here. I'm gonna say this is a demo release note for YouTube. So anyone downloading my app right now will see this. They will be forced to update the mobile application. I'm excited about this feature because I went nuts. So do you see that? So this is now the new guy. You see, say succeeded. You have added the version, updated this guy. So it's okay internally, but this will be the actual release node that gets to be pushed. So now the web API, this is where it starts. Okay, we are done with this guy. Now we need the controller. So when we go to web API, we're going to go to version 1, but we can go to version 2. Now there's no version 2 of, you see, there's no startup folder. Version 3, there is a startup folder because it's a version 3. But I'm going to go to version 1, the more robust steady one. Version 1, we're going to go to startups folder. Focus on the startups. And then you see there is a controller named version updates underscore v1 controller. I'm going to open this. So this is where now it begins. Okay. This is where I get to show you everything. I'm starting with the .NET framework. So let's wait for Visual Studio to wake up. It's still getting there. I believe now it's awoke. Yes. Okay, cool. So we need a lot of things. I can tell we need this guy, this application DB context. So let's go and get it. So it's on DAL, it's on identity. We need this class because it's been referenced. What else do we need? We need the route, right? We need API route v1. So let's go and get that one so that I can show how every single piece work together. And then so we are done with controllers. We need web API v1 this class. Okay, and then what else we need? We need version updates. Okay, it's from this route. We need to get version update response. So we need to get the response of it, version 1. So when I go to startups, and this is what we need. Okay, and what else do we need? Let me pin this guy. Okay, step by step. Okay, the same object. We need automapper. So let's go to automapper. We did cover these things. Like I told you that these things were just the overview, like the verb. See right now it's get. We'll talk about that. Everything, the contract, controllers, automapper, validators, installers, all of these things are now coming to the actual feature. Okay, so we said automapper, we need to go to web API, v1, startups. Do you see that there is this guy according to this class name? So we need it. And then what else do we need? Okay, application DB context, and then the response. Okay, and then that's it. That's all we need. Okay, so let's explain. So these are all my necessary using statements. Remember, it's a controller. Unfortunately, v1 cannot come afterwards. v1 has to be before controller, but we need to append controller after. So this is a pro tip. It inherits from API controller base class. We spoke about this in our previous video. So me using the comments, this is to show how I write code. I'm a very disciplined developer. Okay, you won't find unnecessary using statements at all, but you find some comments to guide the user. Okay, now this is meant to be for dependency injection. Please note this line, it's meant to be dependency injected. I'm still going to rewrite this to bring in dependency injection on .NET framework, but I'm still going to show .NET Core version. Please stay tuned for that in a couple of minutes. And then I'm saying, okay, this way now the endpoints begin. Okay, this guy, it's a block comment for Swagger, not for anything else, for Swagger. I'm not gonna run Swagger right now. Please watch. There's a video titled External Service Provider for Swagger where I explain the comments, blah blah blah. I'm not gonna do that now. Okay, but what it does, just to document, it says get the current version update from the system. See, and then I'm expecting two things based on the response type. The first one, which is 200 status code, it will say get the current version update from the system. The current. You need to be disciplined in how you write your responses. They need to guide whoever is going to utilize this API. And then for in case you don't find it, it will notify that no current version update was found on the system to show results. So we are done with this portion. We are doing this thing step by step. Okay. Then the next thing that we covered in our previous video is HTTP verb or the method. Please watch my previous video where we covered this guy. Okay. So we know that it's get. We are getting, okay, the resources. And then the next thing that we need, okay, let me see if I can do this. It's gonna be this route. We are saying, listen, you're gonna go to this route. So this is how the web API industry works. It works with the route. So when you hit the endpoint, it needs to go. It needs to know where it's gonna go. Okay, to get to this endpoint. So the route to say, listen, it plays on an action to expose it directly via a route, right? So I'm gonna go to this class API route _ version 1. There I'll find a static class called version update. Do you see how I write code? And then from there I'll find this. It's a constant variable. So let's go to that API route v1. This is the guy. So we're gonna focus on the static class called version updates. This guy. Don't worry about the rest. We'll cover them later on. So public static class version updates, what we see here, right? Dot version updates. Then there's a dot get _ version update. So it's a constant variable. So public constant string get version update, and then it will start with the base. See the base, it's all the way up. It's called identical docs API, and this will be / and the version is going to be v1, and then this will be the route, right? Cool. So this is what mobile application knows, our desktop application needs to know. Okay, so that's a route. So we covered this guy, we should now leave it. And then the response type. Now the response type, we are saying, listen, it's going to be of type 200. In case it's 200, it's going to go and utilize this response object, which is get. It comes from the verb. And then what are we focusing on? Version updates. And then is it a response or request? No, in this case, the response for v1. That's how I do it. So we need to go to this guy. Notice something. Do you see that we're expecting 3 things? The question is, what happened to the ID? Remember, there's a saving the clients. In this case, we're talking about Xamarin. Here it is for Android and iOS, and then WPF. So when it comes to the clients, they don't need to know about the version update ID, like the actual primary key. They do not need to know about it. What are they gonna do with it? Do not pass through the wire the ID. How do we know this? Remember, this is an entity model. This is what makes a database. This guy, we don't need to pass it through. This is why you're not supposed to work with the entity data model objects. You work with the contract, the request, and the responses in the web API world. But when it comes to MVC, you work with the view models. So now you understand why this guy is very important, because we don't need to expose anything. We don't need the chaotic stuff. We don't need the attributes like we have here, key required. We don't need stuff like this. We don't need the constructor. We just need to deal with the basic stuff. Listen, give the mobile application and desktop application the version, release node, and then create on based on their type. So this is the most important thing. So we are done with this class. So we are saying we're gonna return that the data using this guy. It's a single object. And then we get to the actual endpoint, this method, step by step, based on the requirements, based on the needs. The first thing that we're going to do, make sure that your endpoints are public, your action methods are public. Make sure, or else they cannot be browsable. Even on Swagger, they will not appear. You cannot get to them because they are private, but when they're public, they are publicly exposed. Okay. It needs to be async. I'm an asynchronous programmer. I do not make a mistake because we're talking about it. We're talking to a database that's far, somewhere it's far. So things are happening on the network. And then async task. The task is going to return HTTP action result. Please make sure that it returns the interface. I know you can just have an action result. Well, Web API or the MVC just returns action result. But when it comes to Web API, we need to return HTTP action result. So these are the tips when it comes to the job interview. Okay. And then the name of the endpoint, which is get version update. This is how I do it. We still need to know, are we getting? Yes, we are getting version updates. You will know about this later on, especially when it comes to businesses. I intend to do tomorrow, that you understand why I write my method names like this. So it doesn't take in anything. It doesn't take in anything. Please don't mind the noise behind the scenes. It's annoying. It's annoying. This kid is okay. Now look at this. Check this. What we are returning, we need to assign it to a null. This is me having to figure this thing out. You don't instantiate an object here. You do not instantiate an object, but you need it as a returned object. But do not instantiate it. Do not do it. It needs to be null. So that we know that, you know what, if you could not find anything, it will still know that there's nothing that was assigned to this. It will just return 44, get to it. So do not instantiate this object, but you need it. That's the first thing that you need. Unfortunately, I cannot use, we know you can use a var, in the name of the object, but we need to assign something to it. If you don't assign something to it, it's gonna bomb. Then the next thing that we need is this. I want to do something to show you how it used to be before we talk about AutoMapper. So let me do right click. We want to show the history. We did cover this in our previous series where we looked at the get history. So I just want to show you how AutoMapper now comes to rescue. So let's wait for this guy. I hope that this content is so far is good. If that's the case, please give this video a thumbs up, like it, leave a comment if you have any, ask any questions, and then most importantly, subscribe so that you get the option to click the notification bell icon for you to be notified when I drop the next video. It needs to be right there popping up on your screen to say, listen, Tumi Tladi has dropped a video, because this is good stuff. As a developer, this is good stuff. I'm telling you. And I'm doing this day. No one taught me this. CUT did not teach me this. CUT doesn't teach stuff like this. CUT is like it's no longer an institution anymore. That's all I'm gonna say. We have to go, all out to teach ourselves these things. So I taught myself this. That's why I'm passionate to share the knowledge I have. If you find an institution that does this thing, great. Okay, so we are done. Only 3 changes. So the very first one was on the 4th of December when you see I add a feature, the get method based on the last record. Okay, I'm not gonna focus on this. And then part 8, correctly versioning. You see, that's when I learned about version that a web API is a version system on the 30th of December. But this is where I integrate. You see, part 2, I integrate AutoMapper on get. I want to show you how it used to be before on this commit. So let's see the details of this commit, so you can understand how AutoMapper comes in, because like I said, I'm going to show everything. So on this controller, you see it was modified. So I'm going to click this guy. After we added this, you see symbol is add. So let me just for now do this and do this. So we basically added this. We'll take a look at this class, but I want to focus on what used to be there before. So I brought in, come on Visual Studio, wake up. Do not be unresponsive. I'm not moving the mouse, I'm not clicking anything on the keyboard. Please do not. This is good stuff. But hey, I can still show this using Azure DevOps. I can still show this. It's even processed there, but I don't get to, show you that there's certain things. But yeah, come on Visual Studio. To be honest, this thing might decide to hang. Okay, backup plan. We did not talk about this guy. I wonder why, but let's go and utilize our backup. So we don't need this guy anymore. Or maybe we need it. So let me open Azure DevOps. We're not going to depend on GitHub or on Visual Studio because it's funny. I don't know why. So let's go to identical docs. Because I know my system, I built it in and out. Let me go to this guy. Before we do that, I'm gonna open this guy just to show that application DB, this application DB context, this is not going to become responsive now. Trust me, this is a Visual Studio. I don't know, it's a crappy thing, but it's my computer. It's fine. So let me quickly go and show that, okay, on identity, there's DB context. This is where we get to register that the version update, hence we're able to talk to it. Okay, the only thing about it's not showing the colors that, that's why I need a Visual Studio, but it's okay. So this is when I'm like, listen, this is you are responsible for creating the actual table. So based on this object, we need this property called version update. Please note this. Okay, let me continue. So where was I want to show the history. It's fine. Let me go to Web API. v1, and I don't need this branch, I need the master branch, but it's fine, it's solid, it's good. So we're gonna go to startups, this guy, because I meant to show that how did we get here, right? Do I need to close Visual Studio, like, because it's unfortunately it won't work anymore, so let me close Visual Studio. It's not gonna do anything. This is not the first time it's had to hang like this. Okay, it's fine. We'll close it so that we can have end the process. Yeah, disappear. Okay, so but you know what I like about Azure DevOps is that I can see the history right there. So let me look at the history. See, we get to now look at those commits. So this is what I need to look at. Go back to the content. Okay, this guy we are done, and then like I said, this guy we need to remove this, and also we are done with this part of administrator dealing with the version update. So now we are still come on. Okay, well, I need this computer to be fast, so Visual Studio needs to disappear, like completely disappear. Come on. I'm sorry about this technical glitches. It's my computer being slowish. It's not only that, it's Visual Studio being slowish. Okay, we'll come to task manager in a second. So this is the actual commit. Come on, please don't hang. Okay, and this is side by side. It's interesting. And I meant to show this, that I brought in AutoMapper, and then I brought in v1 startups from AutoMapper. And then what used to be here is this. Okay, let me just do this. There we go. So we can have a breathing room when we dive deeper into this. Okay, so this is what used to be before. I would just say, listen, get blah 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 blah, you know, await blah 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 blah. So this is what used to be blah 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 blah. But the AutoMapper, what it does is that if you know the property from the source, its version, and destination, its version. Listen, AutoMapper can help you with that. If you know the property, its release note, exactly everything, casing, characters, everything, and then from the and to the destination, it's the same. Listen, you need AutoMapper. So that's what I want to show. So we are done with how it used to be before. So let's go back to this controller. Now, so AutoMapper, we need to bring in var mapper configuration, new mapper configuration. Now this comes from AutoMapper using statement. And we're saying options. Listen, we need to now add the profile. What is the profile? There's a version updates v1 profile. So we need to get to this class. So let me open this in a new tab. In the meantime, I need to delete this record. This was the demo purposes. Yes. And there's a best practice, by the way. Make sure that your CRUD works. See, it's gone, and I can log out and then leave this. Okay, AutoMapper. Let's go to Web API. I can't start Visual Studio again. No, it's gonna be time-consuming. Updates. So we need to check what's in this class. Yes, I'm sure. Okay, what's in this class? These are the contents, right? So like I said, we need a public class, the name of the profile. Please make sure that you append profile at the end because of the inheritance. Okay, let's make sure that there's nothing else like Visual Studio, because I need this thing to be a bit faster. Visual Studio is gone. Okay, cool. So version updates underscore v1 profile inherited from profile. This is AutoMapper, and then we just need the constructor. On the constructor, we need to say, listen, you want to create a map. This is going to be the source, okay, from that entity data model to the destination. Do you see this? You will know this by response. That's what we are mapping. So now you know this. Then what we need, after we have brought in the profile, we're gonna say now var mapper configuration. Let's create the actual mapping. Okay, when we are done, we're gonna go now to using. Please, this is a best practice to say this is gonna be wrapped up inside the using block, using statement, using block. Make sure. So we're gonna say now var application DB context. This is very interesting. It seems like this guy is not being utilized. So we have something that's not being utilized. This I saw from Visual Studio wasn't utilized. It wasn't utilized, so I'll need to clean this code out so that we don't have necessary stuff like this line, so we don't have it. So we're gonna say now var application DB context. Now we are talking to this guy, the guy that's responsible for talking to the database. So we're gonna say, listen, now we're instantiating the object. We're gonna say this how I write it. var version update. This is the name of the entity. So I'm exploiting this. Await, because it's asynchronous, application DB context. Go and look for this property. It's called version updates. That's exactly what we have. That represented this table in a database. So now we are done with this guy. Now, this is very important that we have order by descending. Order by descending, and you saw from the MVC, order by descending, which is using what? Created on. I want to say first our default async. That's why it's asynchronous. Async. So we're gonna filter, say the most recent one's gonna stay at the top. So we need that. We need the first one. Give us the very first one, like we did, you know. And then once we are done, we have that object here. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna say this is what we're gonna be retaining. Remember that from line number 32. What we're gonna be retaining. So we're gonna say, hey mapper, I want you now to. I wanna give you the source, which is this is the source. Please give me the destination, which is the response based on the mapper, and then this is where it's gonna be. The type has to be the same. If this guy that comes back, it's null. That means we cannot find that record based on our condition, right? The single one, our first or default, is gonna return 4. We could not find it, right? Cool. But if we did find it, please return the entire object. And this is what we return. Status code is 200. Okay, we know that from our comments here, and then return that object based on this response type. And then this is it. I covered everything about version updates. This is it. The endpoint gets to be hit by desktop application or mobile application. It's either it found it or it did not find it, and then this is what we get. I'll do this in live, but focusing on the Xamarin part of it. That's it. This is the controller. Everything about this, we covered it. Everything. So let me show now the .NET Core version of this, because it's very interesting. So this is .NET Core version. So now this one, it's interesting because there's a dependency injection, and then it's worth pointing this out. I'm not going to show certain things. I'm only going to show things that are unique. So we know, like I said, with .NET Core, you decorate the class with the attribute API controller, and then this is the name of the controller inheriting from controller base. Okay, so this guy, it's needed in this kind of context. This one is needed. This one's needed. But look at how we do it, because this is dependency injection. So that means we are now being introduced to version update service v1. We're introduced to this object. So where is it? So now this is where dependency injection comes in. We're going to go to services, v1. We're going to go to startup. You see how everything is being organized? Folder called version update, because there's multiple files in here. So let me open this in a new folder, in a new tab, sorry, before we go further, because I'm only going to show the unique stuff. So this is .NET Core, right? So we have this class. I'm going to open in a new tab, and I'm going to open this on this tab. So we started with the interface. Okay, so this is .NET Core stuff. We're looking at the content. So we have a public interface version update. You need to start with prefix it with to show that this is interface. Version update. It's a what? It's a service for what? For v1. So we know it only has a one method. It's going to be task. It's going to return task of look at this, it's going to return a task of version update. So I'm going to get it. Identical docs call for DAL project. Go to the tables, you find a folder called startups, there's a class called version updates. It's the same one as of .NET Framework. And then the name of the method is going to be get version update for version 1. So this is the interface, the implementation of the interface. Now this gets to be interesting. So we are implementing the interface, right? Version update, service v1, and then we have global variables where we talk to the guy that's responsible for database. You see this guy, we're not instantiating this time. We are having this guy so that it's going to be injected using the constructor. This is the depletes injection. Okay, and I should show how this guy is being wired up, but I'll show you in a second. And then we're going to go to a constructor to say, listen, this is where we inject this application DB context. So give us the instance of that guy, you know, and then put it here. Then the methods. So this is that method that we are inheriting, right? Get updated version v1. So because it's asynchronous and it returns this entire signature. So it's going to return, but awaiting the results. So I'm going to go to, hey, that instance that talks to database, go to this property, which is the actual table, order by, do you see that? Order by descending, again, using what? Created on first or default async. So now I'm done with the services. So then we can proceed to say, let's talk about the constructor where this guy gets to be injected, but where is it being registered? It's registered somewhere. So let's go to installers, open this in a new tab, and then we're almost done. We're almost done. So we'll go to DB installer, and this is where we bring in that. But this is what we registered. Add scoped version update service for v1, and this is the implementation of it. So now you know that this is how it gets to be registered. This is how we inject it using the constructor. So now we have access to this instance. It's the same thing. That's it. So in here, this is a very funny thing. We did not make use of automapper. I just realized a bug. Why? So that means I did not make use of automapper. I should make this as a node. I should come back and fix this. There's no automapper as you saw. Nowhere where we're using automapper. There's no user statement for automapper. So this is how it used to be previously, but this is redundancy. This is a problem because the property names are the same. So this is where I need to use automapper. This is interesting, but we are saying, listen, go to this method and then return whatever you found. If you couldn't find it, this is a 404 as we see there, and then just return the object. Again, what's unique, we have HTTP get verb or method, and on the same line we have the routes, the same thing. And then here we're just saying you're gonna produce response type of status code 2 and OK of type. You see the response, the same one. And then other than that, you're gonna return 404 if you cannot find it. And that's all I have to show. I hope you found this video informative. I'm sorry that Visual Studio had to hang, but I want to show this in detail so that when we get to a mobile application, that you know what we did, what to expect. So with that being said, thank you. Please subscribe. The content is good. Your time is not being wasted. Your time, trust me. With that being said, let's meet on the next video. Thank you.